What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that kinda wants to start a video game podcast, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/StoriesAboutKevin. That's right, guys. We get to make fun of stupid people! Okay, that kinda sounded mean, but you know I wasn't trying to be mean. Okay, first up is called Kevin Gets Kicked Out of My Bar for Underage Drinking, then tries to get hired as security is escorting him out. So this story is a few years old, but it's one I'll never ever forget. I have many stories from the several years I worked at Bangers, not its real name. Perhaps I'll post those eventually. This story has a little r/tales from the server and a splash of entitled people, but I think it fits best here among the other Kevins. To set the stage, I work as a server and a bartender at Bangers, a locally owned sports bar and grill, that's a cool ass name, in my local university town all through college and for a few years after. At this point in my Bangers career, I had worked my way up to bar manager, and this specific night, I was the manager on duty. Basically, any issues with any aspect of the bar or restaurant was my responsibility, in addition to keeping the bar. Because Bangers was a restaurant, we did not ID at the door, and it was the server's or bartender's job to ID anyone who looked under 40, who ordered an alcoholic beverage, which is standard in my state and important later. It is a relatively normal evening. I am tending the bar, shooters are being shot, wings are being slung, everything is how it should be when Kevin approaches the bar. This Kevin is a scruffy-looking stoner hippie kid who is obviously a university student. You know the type. Those kids who go through a hippie phase in college. Me is me. Kevin is Kevin. Blue is the bouncer. Kevin walks up to the bar. Hey there, can I get you something?
Yeah, I'll have a pint of porter and 2 shots of Cuervo.
Okay, sounds good. Salt and lime? I'll need your ID and the ID of whoever the other shot is for.
Well, we've been here. We just closed our tab out on the patio. The waitress out there already ID'd us.
I actually believed this at first because I had made a few server tickets that evening with this same order. A pint of porter and 2 shots of Cuervo. Okay, I understand, but I haven't seen your ID, so I still need to look at it before I can serve you. Kevin suddenly starts to look a little nervous, which is confusing to me because I was pretty sure he had already been ordering from the patio server. I know some folks get annoyed by the double IDing when a new tab is started, but it's generally not a big deal. And really, when you are 21 and 3 months, how do you really justify getting mad about being carded? Kevin hesitates, but does pull out his wallet and hands me his driver's license, but immediately tries to snatch it back from me. Unfortunately for this Kevin, I was too fast for him, stepped back out of arm's reach before he could grab it, and proceed to thoroughly examine his driver's license. The photo. Yep, it's the same dude. I turn the card under the light, the holograms are there. I run my thumbnail under the corner and it is properly sealed, indicating it hadn't been laminated over. Common in DIY fake IDs. Then I look at the birth date. He isn't of age. He just handed me his real underage ID. Dude is only 20 years old and just turned 20 a few months prior. I am speculating, but I think Kevin thought,
no one will suspect that I'm underage if I show them my actual ID. I'll just grab it back from them before they have a chance to actually look at the date of birth.
The bad and sad thing is, he had tried the same trick on the patio server and it had worked. Both he and his drinking companion were underage, had shown the server their real underage IDs, and she served them. She did end up losing her job over this. Was not the first major mistake she had made in her 2 months working there. How does this make him a Kevin, you may ask? This part is not what makes him the Kevin. The part that makes him the Kevin is the rest of the story. He immediately tries to argue with me that he is 21 and I am not doing the math properly. I'm thinking to myself, is this really happening? Is this stoner kid trying to gaslight me into not knowing what year it is? He is trying. It's not working. I had been a bartender for years at this point and carded thousands of people. I know how to do basic math. And there is a big electronic calendar clock sign hanging right behind the bar that says, must be born by date to be served. Kevin keeps pushing it, going back and forth with the argument that he really is 21, and the argument since they have already been served on the patio, I should continue to serve them. After a few minutes of this, I'd had enough and called over Blue to escort Kevin and his friend out. Once Kevin realizes he's getting kicked out, he immediately submits and starts apologizing. Not gonna work, dude. Blue walks Kevin and companion out the parking lot and comes back in a few minutes later, asking where the employment applications are. I say, they're on the shelf under the register. Why? Who's asking for one? Mind you, it's already after 11 p.m., not the usual job hunting hours in any industry.
Oh, Kevin wanted one. He's looking for a job and asked if we are hiring in the kitchen or bouncers.
Kevin? The Kevin I just kicked out of here for underage drinking and arguing about his age? That Kevin? He thinks he has a chance of being hired to work at an establishment he just got caught drinking underage in? He thinks he'll be hired when he just put the business liquor license in jeopardy had the alcohol law enforcement came in? The dude I could have caught charges for as manager on duty had ALE been in tonight?
Yeah.
Blue had his own moments of Kevinness, to be honest. Another story, another day. Oh my god! What kind of idiot thinks it's a good idea to ask for a job after just breaking the law in business he is trying to get hired to?
I know.
It is finally clicking with Blue how ridiculous this request was, and starts shaking his head. I am super frustrated at this point, and just overwhelmed by how freaking delusional and idiotic this guy must be. Yeah, we are taking applications, I said to Blue through gritted teeth. Take him an application. I don't give a fart. That is all. Blue takes the app and walks out with it. I never encounter this Kevin again, and he never submitted the employment application. The only reason I told Blue to take him one is so I would be in compliance with labor laws. No way in hell he would have ever really had a shot at getting hired after that stunt. Thinking he could be hired after that is what makes him a Kevin. Why did he think he had a chance? Because he's a frickin' Kevin with an entitlement gene, obviously. Hope you enjoyed. That poor waitress, I've had some really close calls with selling people alcohol when they were underage, but thank God I've had like someone there to be like, yo, check their ID. Actually, I think I might have before. I can't quite remember, but it's my uncle got arrested for doing that. So yeah, you gotta be careful. It was an accident, but he was sloppy. Y'all ready for a hot take though? And this is someone who doesn't drink and doesn't like the taste of alcohol. I think that they should do what Europe does. Stop being so harsh with that drinking age. I know it's bad for brain development. However, with that drinking age and with it being against the law, it incentivizes younger people into drinking as much as they can. Because one, it's illegal, so there's the cool boy badass points that you get with the other idiotic teenagers who want to get wasted all the time. And two, it's a really stupid reason to get in trouble. Just make sure your kids understand that responsibility is required when getting intoxicated. Because as far as I know, these European countries without the oppressive liquor laws, they don't really have as many issues with irresponsible drinking because it's more of a leisure thing as opposed to like a party thing. As far as I know. You can correct me in the comments because I know there's some European folk in there. So yeah, let me know. Alright, this story's called High School Kevin from My Squad. Back when I was a freshman in high school, I had this small group of friends that our class called the Loser Squad. The Loser Squad is a unique group. There's 4 of us. There's me, the only girl in our group. Not smart, but not stupid either. Kylo, the rich kid who ate street food for the first time at the age of 12. Brownie, the neckbeard in our group. Kent, the Kevin of our group. We'll just call him Kevin. The squad became a squad when we realized that we're the only weirdos in our class. A little side note. We were a bunch of 11 to 12-year-olds back then. This isn't America. This is set in the Philippines, before the government added another 2 years of school. You graduated high school at the age of 16 and started high school at the age of 11 to 12. That's actually really interesting, thank you. Now, to the list of things my lovely Kevin did. On the first day of school, Kevin got lost. Now, we attended a private Catholic school, which includes preschool and elementary school. High school freshmen have their own separate building, which is right next to the church. There were huge signs on where you should go. Our homeroom teacher was already doing attendance when the elementary school's principal walked in with Kevin in tow. He mistook the elementary building for the freshman building, which was weird because the elementary school's uniform is a little different. Kids wore the normal white polo and brown pants. High school has chocolate brown color, elementary has light brown pants. But the girls' uniform was different. Elementary students wore ribbons and high school girls wore neckties. It was so obvious. Kevin sat in a 6th grade classroom for an hour until the homeroom teacher walked in. That was only day 1. 1 month into school, and Kevin was a little normal until science class. Our science teacher was a strict old teacher who's after my group because of Brownie and Kevin, and me because my cousin was her student. Science teacher was nice outside of class, and me and Kylo actually loved talking to her about science. Kevin's problem in the class is that the science teacher is too strict, and we were forced to sit away from each other, and that he doesn't understand what science teacher was teaching. Now, even the worst student in class could easily get the topic. Heck, science teacher would sometimes teach in Tagalog so that we could all get the lesson. Kevin could not, by the love of all that is good, understand the basics of physics and biology. It was also the first time Kevin had seen or touched a cork and claimed out loud that corks are not real. Like, dude, we have a crap ton of cork boards in every floor of the building for clubs and announcements. Kevin did not bring his own lunch during our field trip. No packed lunch at all. Our homeroom teacher had to give him her own lunch so that he can eat. And yes, we asked him why he didn't bring his own lunch. He said that he thought the school would provide it when we were given a list of things to bring. Yes, we were always given a list of things to bring 2 weeks before our field trip starts. It helps, honestly, but it didn't help Kevin. Lunch and extra pair of clothes is always at the top of the list, mind you. Kevin, despite his crap, is really good with computers. His highest grade in our computer class is in the 90s. But one day, during our computer class, he brings an uncovered water bottle in the laboratory and claimed that the PCs won't be harmed if the water ever spills. I don't know why he thought that. We just ignored him because we were busy with our finals. The next thing we knew, his PC exploded or something. Our computer teacher had to turn the power off of the lab to avoid any fires or something. The cause? Kevin's water spilled and water got in the electric socket or something. He's the reason why no one is now allowed to bring any forms of liquid in the computer lab. Kevin and Brownie caused our classroom a shortage of whiteboarding. This happened when I missed school for 2 weeks, chickenpox. Now, Kylo and I are the main reason why Kevin and Brownie never really got into serious trouble. But unfortunately, Kylo and I had chickenpox at the same time. When we got back to class, Brownie and Kevin were suspended. We asked our class representative, and he told us that those two dum-dums found where our homeroom teacher put the ink for the markers. She hid them from them. They then had a debate on whether or not you can wash off ink stains on shirts. So they proceeded to put ink on their white polo shirts. White polo shirts! Those two ruined their uniform for something stupid. It happened during lunch and the other student in our classroom was apparently asleep. Kevin took food from the trash bin. He claims that the food was untouched. It was disgusting. Kevin got lost on his way to school. We don't know how, we don't know why, but he got lost. He ended up in another city on his way to school. There are many more stories from this Kevin of mine from sophomore to senior year, but I don't have the time to post them in one post. And each year, he just keeps being more of a Kevin. Edit. Since the lunch thing might cause confusion, since my English isn't really that good. Yes, it is. Let me clarify. Kevin is a well-fed boy. He's always eating before class starts, he eats rice meals every lunch with desserts, and me and the squad always go out for pizza after class. His mom will also have packed him some lunch when she has time. His mom works in a call center and her schedule is always graveyard shift. Kevin just has this habit of taking or holding crap that's near him. The food, by the way, was on the top of the bin, not inside. Hope that clears things up. By the way, thanks for reading, guys. Maybe I'll write down sophomore and junior Kevin. Please, this guy's funny. I can just imagine that conversation. Kevin, where are you? Why aren't you in school? I don't know, man. I don't know where I am. This story's called I Own a Bowling Alley. My former employee was the ultimate Kevin. Posted about an idiot vandal last night, and it reminded me about this guy I used to employ. I own a mid-sized bowling alley with about 10 employees. Kevin was 19 when this happened, under a year ago, maybe 8 months. I hired him after losing 2 employees in a week, so I was desperate for somebody. He did so much damage, it was worse than no employee. Here's some of Kevin's greatest hits. He was caught humping a bowling ball in the break room. I see we're starting off strong. Kevin intentionally forgot to put oil on the lanes because he read somewhere that it would make the ball blow up, and he thought that it would be cool. Kevin eventually got removed from anything except for serving food and drink. I figured this would be okay. Oops, that was a mistake. Pretty soon, on the first day I put him on duty serving food for a full shift, a woman comes up to the counter and asks to see a manager. Confused, I ask her what happened. She tells me her pizza is too dry to eat. You know where this is headed. I go to check on Kevin, but he blocks the entrance to the back room with his body and yells to the woman at the counter, "We used a new tomato sauce!" I immediately panic. This is clearly a lie. We don't make our own pizzas. They're food service. I push past him and discover the son of a biscuit eater is serving customers week-old pizza that has been sitting in a cold, dry room. Kevin tells me, "I didn't want to waste the food and I thought you would be mad at me." We had a Christmas party one time and Kevin literally tried to go down the chimney of the business. But the mother-father couldn't even get down further than his waist. The firemen came to get him out, oh my god. We found him playing one-person soccer with our plastic food containers, kicking them and running after them and trying to kick them into goals like the pin setter on the bowling lanes. I was using the toilet once when Kevin walks into the bathroom and stands outside my stall calling 911 to report I was dead. I yell loudly, "Hey, I'm alive in here!" Kevin tells me, "You weren't moving, I thought you were dead. Sorry." Cops still had to check it out and search the whole place. He bought a taser and used it on himself while on the job. Kevin told me he bowled a 300, with no proof of course. He got super defensive when challenged, up to the point of sending me a photoshopped pic of a 300 claiming it was his. Then he told me it was just an example and mine looks like that. It was only an example, I swear. My business partner, call him Rob, who I worked with for 20 plus years, was left in charge alone with Kevin one night when I went home and the others weren't in. While I'm home, I get a text from Rob. "I hate N-word, juiceler, and lube suckers." Turns out, Kevin took his phone. Then I fired Kevin. That was too much. Still the worst employee I ever had. I think you meant to say, and there goes the best damn employee any bowling alley ever had. And yes, I stole that from a comment. I'm giving him credit. Effity Jeffity. That's one of the better Kevin stories I've read. That was funny. This guy obviously, needs to understand consequences are a thing, and he needs to think his actions out more. Actually, no, he needs to think less. I think thinking is his problem. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.